Hi there, I'm Vincent Boss and I provide dating and self-improvement advice. And in today's podcast, we're going to be discussing no contact rule after breakup. I provide audio coaching for breakup recovery, trying to get an ex back, attracting someone new, and life coaching. Visit www.dateme.tips for more details. Please check your spam and junk folders if you are expecting an email from me. So now let's get back into today's podcast. And today we are discussing no contact rule after breakup. So if you have gone through a breakup and want to try to get your ex back, you may have heard of the no contact rule. In today's podcast, I'll be discussing 3 surprising elements regarding the no contact rule. So let's get straight into this, and point number 1 is no contact can help dumpers and dumpees. So if you search online about how to try to get your ex back, you will likely come across information suggesting you implement the no contact rule. Now, first of all, it is important to say that there are many different versions of the no contact rule that you can find online, and I believe that my version will give you the best possible chance of success. So I suggest that you subscribe to my YouTube channel, ring the bell for notifications, and check out the playlist entitled The No Contact Rule on my YouTube channel, and you'll be able to fully immerse yourself in my version of a rule and understand why I believe it will give you that best possible chance of success. But amongst my version and the other versions of a rule that you can find online, what you will often see is information suggesting that the no contact rule is for dumpees. If you have been dumped, this can help you try and get your ex back. Now, some of the other versions of a rule, maybe that is the case for them, but certainly my version of a rule can help both dumpers and dumpees. And this is the first surprising point in today's podcast. A lot of people don't realise that no contact can help both dumpers and dumpees. Yes, it might seem more obvious that a dumpee may want to try to get their ex back, but what I would say is there are lots of dumpers who at some stage change their mind and want to try to reconnect with their ex. And if you are a dumper, it can be difficult sometimes to find information about what you need to do to try to get your ex back. You know, you were in a different position, of course, to your dumpee. You ended the relationship. You broke their heart. You've now changed their mind. What do you do? Well, my version of a no contact rule can help both dumpees and dumpers, although when you actually implement my rule does differ. If you're a dumpee, I suggest you implement my version of a rule ASAP, ideally as soon after the breakup as possible. Although if you've only just found out about my channel and my content, then you need to implement it as soon as you possibly can, even if it happens to be months after your breakup, for an example. It's going to help you as a dumpee as soon as you can implement it. Now, if you're a dumper, it is somewhat different. If you're a dumper, I suggest in most instances that you need to reach out to your dumpee via text message, I would say, or some type of messaging app. Send them a message, say hi, explain your situation, apologize for ending the relationship, say your thoughts, and then let them know at the end of a message something in your own words suggesting something similar to, if you would like to chat, then please get in contact. At that stage, after sending the message, I suggest that a dumper should implement my version of a no contact rule. So as a dumpee, you need to implement it ASAP. As a dumper, you need to send this message first. Now, if you want more advice and support from your specific scenario, your specific angle of where and why you're trying to get your ex back, you may want to consider my audio coaching service, where me and you can speak one-on-one. I can become your coach and your teammate during this period of time where you're trying to reconnect with your ex. If you would like more details on my audio coaching service, please go to my website, www.dateme.tips. So now let's get into point number 2 and the second point of today's podcast about no contact rule after breakup. And point number 2 is no contact enhances your senses. So if you implement my version of a no contact rule, you are not just increasing the chance of trying to get your ex back, you are also enabling yourself to find yourself once more, to remember who you are, who you were, and who you can be, improving every single day, and also enabling yourself to really feel life again. When you're going through a breakup, things can seem very, very clouded, but also lots of people don't realise that when they look back to their relationship, as good as it may have seemed, it can be somewhat focused just within the relationship. Lots of people who are in a connection don't see much outside of that relationship. And I would always say you need to live your life fully. You need experiences with your partner. You need experiences without your partner. You need to maintain and grow your platonic friendships. You need to have hobbies, interests, things which you do with your partner and things that you don't do. You need to be your own person and individual and not blend into one person together. Now, although that's my suggestions and my advice, lots of people do in essence become one. Two people blend into one. They almost start looking like each other sometimes, dressing in very similar ways when perhaps when they first met, they had their own distinct style. Now, of course, you want to do lots of things together. You want to build, grow, and form an incredible bond. But I do believe two people in a relationship need to remain individuals, and this can sometimes be lost. If and when you implement my version of a no contact rule, you will start to enhance your senses. As I've just said, there's a chance that even within your relationship, when things felt good, your senses may have been somewhat blunted because you were only focusing on one another and nothing else. You didn't notice life outside of your relationship, for instance. But on top of all of this, you're now going through a breakup. Things are becoming even more blurred, confusing, and painful. And you might not even want to leave your room at this time. So you are certainly not outside and smelling the roses. Now, if you implement my version of a rule, this will help you remember who you are. It will help you understand what you were, what you can be, and experience the world again. You will smell the roses. You will hear the bird song. You will feel alive. Things that you haven't noticed for a while due to your breakup pain, but also things that you haven't noticed for a while because you've been in a relationship for many months or years. This will enhance your senses. You will feel a new person, as if you've just been reborn, because everything that you've been blanking, you will realize is wonderful. Life is incredible. Life needs to be lived. And if you implement my version of a no contact rule, this will give you the opportunity to slowly but surely start discovering everything that you had actually lost without even realizing. It can be so powerful. It can be so empowering, not just to you, but those around you. Your friends and family will probably think, wow, look how much you've come on. You seemed so down, so sad, so upset. But even when you was in the relationship, you seemed quite distant from us. Now you are back. You are here. You are living life. You are looking at us and actually taking it in now. These are all the things that I believe you can start to experience if and when you implement my version of a rule. So, no contact surprise in point number 2 is no contact enhances your senses. So now let's get into point number 3 and the final point of today's podcast about no contact rule after breakup. And point number 3 is no contact can be used during reconnection. So another surprising fact about my version of a no contact rule is that it can and often is used during reconnection, not just at the first step of trying to get your ex back. Lots of people understand that you should be implementing my version of a rule initially, whether if you're a dumpee, it's ASAP, or if you're a dumper, after you've sent the text. Lots of people understand that that is when you implement the rule, but some people do start to think that if and when you hear from your ex, and no contact is in essence broken by them, that is the end of a no contact rule period. Well, not necessarily, because my version of a no contact rule can be used during reconnection. So an example of this is, let's say you are a dumpee. You implement my version of a rule. 4, 5, 6 months go by, and often, by the way, that is kind of the average amount of time, so don't start getting too stressed out if you haven't heard from your ex in 2 weeks, okay? It's often a number of months on average. Anyway, I digress. Let's just say it's 4, 5, 6 months. You hear from your dumper reaches out to you, and you are celebrating in your mind. I've heard from my ex. No contact has worked. Well, it's probably working in the background in other ways, but, I mentioned that in other podcasts. But yes, no contact has worked in bringing your ex towards you. They've reached out to you, and congratulations, you have now entered the communication stage. But no contact can still be used during this time. So let's just say you have a great text conversation with your ex. Let's just say that it builds upon that. Maybe you have a phone call, and you get to the stage where you've arranged to meet one another. Now, you send your ex a message when you have already arranged to meet, and they don't respond. Now you're thinking, well, what do I do at this point? We've arranged to meet. We're going to meet on Saturday. Today is Wednesday. I've sent them a text asking how their day has gone, and they haven't replied. So in your mind, you're probably thinking, well, we're meeting in a few days' time. Surely things are on the right track. I can just send them a message a little bit later asking if they got my text. Or maybe I'll just ask them something else. No. At this stage, you implement my version of a no contact rule again. You need to think of texting as a game of tennis. You hit the ball over the net. You can't hit it again unless they hit it back. So if you send a text to your ex during the communication stage and you don't get a response, guess what that means? You never contact them again unless they contact you first. Now, if you have already arranged to meet, you still go to that meet. This doesn't mean you don't turn up, you go. And if you're unfortunate enough for them not to show, well, more fool them, because that will be the only chance that you give them. But if you've arranged a date, you need to feel confident that that date is set. And even if you don't hear back from them, then I would suggest you still go under the proviso and the thought that they will be there. There could be a valid reason why they never responded. Like I said, if they don't show, well, that's their only chance gone. But I would say in most instances, if you've arranged something with your ex, they will show. You don't keep chasing them. Now, what about if you haven't arranged a meet? What if you're having a conversation and then all of a sudden they don't respond? Well, like I said, you never contact them again unless they contact you first. You've hit the ball over the net. You can't hit it again unless they hit it back. So what does it mean if during a communication stage your ex seemingly goes silent forever? Well, then again, we don't know. We don't know if they're going to respond to you in a week's time. Not that that's very nice. Not that there's a good explanation as for why it's taken so long to respond. But we don't know necessarily that it's going to be forever and they will never contact you again. But it might seem that all of a sudden they've gone silent. Well, I would say that you keep moving forward with your life. Okay, you've had some communication with your ex, but if you haven't arranged to meet and they haven't responded to you mid-conversation, you never contact them again unless they contact you first. If somebody doesn't respond to you, it's for one of two reasons. Either A, they can't, or B, they don't want to. If they can't, then if and when they can, they will. Maybe they're just busy. And if they don't want to, well, unfortunately, you can't do anything about that. You want to be with somebody who wants to be with you, not somebody that you're persuading. That's not going to help you in the long term. You deserve more than that. You are higher value than that. So, the surprising point number 3 of today's podcast about the no contact rule after a breakup is no contact can be used during reconnection, during the communication stage. It's not just about the initial phase. If your ex doesn't respond to you at any stage during the reconnecting process, you go back into no contact. If you believe that this podcast has helped you, then please consider buying me a coffee. The link to do so is in the description.